Welcome to the deep dive. If you are joining us right now, you are what we fondly call the learner.
Right, the kind of person who really wants to look under the hood.
Exactly. You don't just want to skim the surface or, blindly follow the tourist crowds. You want to understand the actual mechanics of a place.
You want to bypass all that friction that just trips up everybody else.
Yeah, and today we have a super specific, really high-stakes mission for you. We've gathered this massive stack of sources. I mean, we've got financial breakdowns of European tourism, deeply researched travel guides, municipal waste policies, and even raw public transit data.
Which sounds dry, but it is actually the secret code to hacking this country.
Oh, totally. Because our goal is to extract the definitive guide for a first-time traveler to Switzerland. We are looking at how to save serious money across, well, transportation, lodging, food, and activities.
In doing all that without sacrificing even 1 ounce of the magic you're actually traveling there to experience.
Right, because it is a vital mission. When you look at the data across all these sources, a really stark reality emerges. Switzerland is, frankly, notoriously expensive.
Intimidatingly expensive, honestly. For a lot of people, that reputation alone is just a total barrier to entry.
Oh, I get it. I mean, they look at the price of a basic hotel or just a single train ticket, and they just, route their vacations somewhere else entirely.
Yeah, but what the research actually reveals is that you don't have to be a millionaire to experience the Alps. You just have to fundamentally restructure how you approach the trip.
Which means understanding the local systems. And I really love that phrasing because as I was pouring through these sources, this very specific image just kept popping into my head.
Oh, yeah. What was the image?
Well, when you look at a luxury Swiss watch, there's this immediate expectation of perfection. You see the polished glass, the elegant hands gliding around, and you just know it's going to cost an absolute fortune.
Right, it feels totally untouchable.
Exactly. But if you actually take that watch, flip it over and look through the clear casing at the back, you realize it's not magic at all.
It's just a crazy, intricate puzzle of interlocking gears and springs.
Yes. And that is a brilliant way to frame this. When you look at the back of the watch, it is just a mechanism. If you understand how those gears engage with one another, the mystery is gone.
You can see exactly how the momentum transfers from one wheel to the next one.
And that is the exact perspective we need today. On the surface, Switzerland is that luxury watch. The tourist tax, the premium you pay if you just blindly walk into hotels and restaurants is astronomical.
But if we flip the country over and look at the gears, the app ecosystems, the local grocery habits, the exact math of their transit network, it just becomes a puzzle you can solve.
Right, you turn the right gears and you completely bypass that tourist tax.
So to do that, we have to follow a very logical sequence. We can't just, throw random budget tips at you. The sources show this clear causal chain in how a Swiss trip unfolds.
We have to start with how you move around. Transportation.
Because in Switzerland, movement dictates your geography.
Yeah.
And geography determines where you can actually afford to sleep.
Right, and then that lodging strategy dictates how you eat. And finally, when you've optimized your movement, your bed, and your meals, those savings unlock the actual culture and experiences you went there for.
So we are building a foundation. Let's just dive right into that first gear, which is transportation.
Yeah, and I noticed right away in the research that movement is treated so differently here than almost anywhere else. It's usually the single biggest line item in a Swiss travel budget.
Oh, absolutely. The public transit network there is legendary. But if you treat it like London or New York, like just walking up to a kiosk and buying a point-to-point ticket at full price, you are going to rapidly deplete your travel funds.
Like incredibly fast. Which brings us to the very first massive decision every traveler has to make before they even board a plane. You have to buy a transit pass.
And the two heavyweights here are the Swiss Travel Pass and the half-fare card. This is like the most fiercely debated topic on every Swiss travel forum.
I can imagine. So let's break down the mechanics. The Swiss Travel Pass, or the STP, is basically an all-inclusive wristband, right?
Yeah, exactly. You pay an upfront premium for unlimited travel on almost the entire network. Depending on if you buy it for 3 days or up to 15 days, you're looking at an upfront cost of anywhere from roughly 244 to well over 500 Swiss francs.
Okay, wow. And on the other side, you have the half-fare card. And the concept here is radically different.
Totally different. As a tourist, you just buy a 1-month half-fare card for a flat 150 francs. And that card just gives you 50% off almost every single train, bus, boat, and cable car in the country.
Okay, I have to admit, when I first read that, my instinct was immediately to grab the Swiss Travel Pass. I mean, it just sounds so much more relaxing.
It does. The idea of unlimited travel really appeals to that psychological desire for a completely frictionless vacation.
Right. I don't want to think about buying tickets every single time I want to go somewhere. But you've been looking deep at the math in these sources, and leaning into that comfort isn't always the best financial deal, is it?
It rarely is, actually, unless your trip fits a very specific profile. The travel industry totally banks on people overestimating how much they will actually move around.
Okay, so when we look at the breakdowns, is there a rule of thumb?
Yeah, a really clear heuristic emerges. We can call it the 4-day rule.
Walk me through the 4-day rule. How does that math actually play out in reality?
So imagine your itinerary is this grand sweeping tour of the country. You land in Zurich, you spend a day. Next day, you take a long intercity train down to Lucerne.
Okay, sounds nice.
Then the day after that, you cross the entire country to Zermatt, and the next day you head all the way to Geneva.
That is a ton of ground to cover.
Exactly. If you are doing 4 or more consecutive days of heavy long-distance intercity travel like that, the Swiss Travel Pass often wins. The sheer volume of full-price tickets you would have had to buy justifies that huge upfront cost.
Right, you're actually extracting maximum value from the unlimited model. But what if I'm not trying to see the entire country in a week? What if I want to just, park my bags and actually relax?
Well, that's the profile of most travelers. They do what we call base camp travel. You rent a place in a central hub, like the Bonnese Oberland region, and you stay there for 5 days.
Taking smaller trips, maybe?
Right, smaller regional trips and deep mountain excursions. And if that is your style, the half-fare card absolutely decimates the Swiss Travel Pass in terms of value.
See, I want to push on that because surely unlimited is always better than 50% off, right?
You'd think so, but not when you factor in the high-altitude mountain excursions.
Yeah.
This is the crucial detail the sources really hammer home.
Okay, lay it on me.
The Swiss Travel Pass gives you unlimited travel on the regular network. But when you start taking those specialized private cogwheel trains up into the high Alps, like the famous journey up to the Jungfraujoch, the STP does not give you a free ride.
Wait, really? It doesn't cover the mountains?
Nope. It only gives you a 25% discount on those specific private alpine routes.
Oh, wow. And the Jungfraujoch ticket is wildly expensive, right? I read it can be well over 200 francs for a round trip, depending on the season.
Exactly. So your expensive Swiss Travel Pass only knocks 25% off that massive ticket. But the half-fare card...
Don't tell me.
Yep. It gives you a full 50% off that exact same mountain excursion. So when you're doing base camp travel and focusing on expensive alpine ascents, that 50% discount on the big ticket items mathematically crushes the unlimited intercity travel you aren't even using.
That is a staggering difference. I mean, it completely flips the conventional wisdom right on its head. So for the vast majority of people doing deep explorations from a home base, you just invest the 150 francs in the half-fare card and cut your entire transport budget in half.
Spot on. But knowing which card to buy is really only the first gear in this puzzle. The second gear is how you actually use it.
Which introduces us to the SBB app. SBB stands for the Swiss Federal Railways. And looking at the materials, this isn't just like a digital timetable.
No. The sources describe this app as mandatory infrastructure. It is the digital nervous system of the entire country.
Wow, that's a big claim.
It really is. It handles every train, every post bus, every lake ferry, and most city tram networks. And it is spectacularly reliable.
I do love the idea of a flawless app, the absolute Swiss watch of travel apps. But I was reading through some user experiences in the sources, and I have to bring up a major point of friction here.
Okay, what did you find?
Well, I want you to imagine I am standing on a train platform in Zurich, right? The train is arriving in 3 minutes. I just paid my 150 francs for this physical piece of paper, my tourist half-fare card.
Right, you're ready to go.
I pull up the SBB app to buy my ticket to Lucerne. I put in my destination, and I'm looking for the button that says, I am a tourist holding a 1-month half-fare card.
And let me guess, the button doesn't exist.
It does not exist. I'm staring at a full-price ticket. The train is literally pulling up, and I am completely paralyzed. I feel like I'm missing a crucial step. Is it overly complicated to link this discount to the app?
You have just described the exact moment of panic that hits thousands of first-time visitors every year.
It's so stressful.
It is. The friction comes from a really slight difference in nomenclature between what tourists buy and what locals use. The solution is actually incredibly simple, but the app designers just assume you already know it.
Okay, so enlighten me. How do I get my 50% off without missing my train?
So when you go to buy a ticket in the SBB app, there is a prompt to set up your passenger profile. You enter your name and date of birth, And below that, there's a drop-down menu to apply discount cards.
Right, the menu where I couldn't find my tourist card.
Exactly. You won't see 1-month tourist half-fare card.
Hmm.
What you will see is an option called half-fare travel card.
Travel card, not just half-fare card.
Correct. The half-fare travel card is technically the annual subscription-based version of the card that actual Swiss residents carry around.
Oh, I see.
However, the SBB system treats your temporary 1-month tourist card as functionally identical to the resident's annual travel card. You simply select that half-fare travel card option in the drop-down menu.
So I just click that and it works.
That's it. The app doesn't require you to scan a barcode or input a serial number right then and there. It just operates on the honor system for the purchase, and it instantly cuts every price you look at in half.
Wait, it just trusts you, just like that.
Well, to buy the ticket, yes. But when you are actually on the train, the conductor will come through and ask to see your ticket. That is when you absolutely must present both the digital half-price ticket on your phone and the QR code of your physical half-fare card.
Ah, okay. So the trust has verification.
Heavy verification. If you buy a half-price ticket but cannot produce the valid discount card, you will be hit with a massive fine. It usually starts around 100 francs, plus you still have to pay the cost of a full-price ticket.
Okay, so it's a high-trust, high-consequence environment. You select travel card, you get the discount, but you absolutely must have the proof in your pocket. That is a massive pro tip.
It saves so much stress on the platform.
Definitely. Now, once you have the app humming and your 50% discount locked in, there is another gear we can turn to compound these savings. Because half price is fantastic, but the source has revealed a mechanism to get up to 70% off.
Oh, the Super Saver tickets.
Yes, let's talk about those.
This is where we really get into the dynamic pricing algorithms of the Swiss rail network. The SBB wants to incentivize people to travel during off-peak hours to manage capacity.
Makes sense. Spread the crowds out.
Exactly. To do this, exactly 60 days before any specific date of travel, they release a limited inventory of Super Saver tickets into the system.
How do I spot them in the app? Do they jump out at you?
They do. They are very clearly marked with a distinct percentage sign next to the price. But you have to know, these tickets are tied to specific off-peak trains.
So I can't just buy one and hop on whatever train I want.
No. Instead of a standard ticket that lets you take any train on that route all day, a Super Saver ticket mandates that you take, for example, the exact 10:34 a.m. train.
Okay, so you lock in a time.
Right. And in exchange for committing to that specific time, they slash the base fare by up to 70%.
And here is the absolute kicker that blew my mind in the research. I assumed you had to choose, like, use your half-fare card or buy a Super Saver ticket. But you can stack them, can't you?
That is the ultimate financial hack of Swiss Transit. Yes, they stack.
That's insane.
It is. If you have the half-fare card profile active in your SDB app and you select a Super Saver ticket, you receive your 50% discount on top of the algorithm's dynamically reduced price.
So you're basically paying pennies on the dollar for world-class high-speed rail travel.
Exactly. Simply by planning your inner-city movements a few weeks in advance and being willing to travel at like 10 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. during rush hour.
It is like extreme algorithmic couponing, but for Alpine trains. I am obsessed with this. Now, while we are on the topic of hacking local transit, there is another mechanism that feels almost too good to be true. It's the local guest card system.
This is a huge one.
I really want to unpack this because it fundamentally changes how you view the actual cost of a hotel room.
It really does, and it requires understanding a bit of Swiss civic structure. When you book official accommodation in Switzerland, whether it's a grand hotel, a youth hostel, or even a registered Airbnb, you are legally mandated to pay a local tourist tax.
Right.
It is usually a pretty small fee, maybe 2 to 5 francs per person per night, and it's just added to your final bill.
And historically, this just felt like an annoyance to travelers. Like, great, another fee.
Exactly. But in return for this tax, the local tourism board actually issues you a guest card.
Right. And in a lot of European cities, a guest card just gets you a free map and maybe like 10% off a very specific, boring museum. But in Switzerland, these cards hold serious power.
They hold immense logistical power. In many mountain towns, the guest card provides entirely free access to the local village bus network.
Which is nice, sure.
But the true game changer happens when you look at how certain specific cantons, which are the Swiss equivalent of states, leverage this system.
Okay, let's look at the Ticino canton, for example. That's the Italian-speaking region in the warm southern part of the country, right?
Yes. The source has highlighted Ticino specifically. So what happens when you check into a hotel there? You don't just get a bus pass.
What do you get?
When you stay overnight anywhere in Ticino, your hotel issues you the Ticino ticket. And this isn't just for the local village bus. This ticket covers public transit for the entire canton.
Wait, the entire state?
The entire state. From the moment you check in until midnight on the day you check out, you can take regular trains and buses all across the region, from the lakes of Lugano all the way up into the high alpine valleys, entirely for free.
That is wild.
It turns a basic hotel stay into a massive regional transport subsidy.
Right. If you are doing base camp travel and you plan your bases around regions with generous guest cards like Ticino, your daily local transport budget drops to literally zero.
Zero. It completely reframes the cost of the hotel.
I mean, if I am paying 120 francs for a room, but I'm getting 60 francs worth of free regional transit out of it every day, the room is effectively costing me half.
That is brilliant.
It's all about looking at the big picture.
Okay, we have one more transit gear to examine, and it involves a visual icon of Switzerland that people might not expect to be a budget hack.
Let me guess. Gondolas.
Well, sort of the opposite. When I picture Swiss travel, I picture dangling from a thick steel cable in a panoramic glass gondola, gliding silently over a glacier.
Right, the classic postcard image. But the sources are practically screaming at us to swap those cable cars for bright yellow buses. Why on earth are we swapping a breathtaking gondola for a bus?
It really comes down to understanding the purpose of the infrastructure. Those panoramic glass cable cars are engineering marvels, but they are phenomenally expensive to build, to maintain, and therefore to ride.
Right.
They are essentially the ultimate tourist luxury product. If you want to ride a famous gondola to a peak, you will pay a massive premium for the privilege.
But I'm traveling to Switzerland for the panoramic alpine views. I don't want to just sit in a commuter bus next to someone heading to their accounting job. I want altitude.
And that is the exact misconception. You are assuming a bus can't give you the altitude. You have to look at the post-bus network.
The post-bus network. Okay, explain that.
Switzerland has a vibrant, functioning population that lives high up in incredibly remote, steep valleys and mountain passes. To serve these citizens, the government heavily subsidizes the post-auto or post-bus network.
Oh, these are the bright yellow buses with the famous horn, right?
Yes, the distinct three-tone horn. And because they are considered essential public infrastructure for the locals, they are priced like public transit, not like tourist attractions.
So they actually go up the mountains.
Oh, they go places you wouldn't believe a wheeled vehicle could possibly go.
Yeah.
They navigate terrifyingly narrow, winding alpine passes, brushing past sheer cliffs and climbing to staggering altitudes.
That sounds intense.
It is. The sources point out a specific route as an example. You can take a post bus from the town of Solothurn all the way up to the Balmberg Pass.
And what's that like?
It climbs deep into the Jura Mountains, the gradients are incredibly steep, and the panoramic views of the valleys below are staggering. It rivals any gondola view.
And what does a ride like that cost compared to a gondola?
That specific post-bus ride might cost you around 6.40 francs.
You're kidding.
I'm not. If you took a tourist cable car to a similar altitude and a similar viewpoint in a more famous region, you would easily be paying 30, 40, or 50 francs.
Wow. So if you want the dramatic alpine ascents and the sweeping views without the luxury price tag, you hunt for the yellow buses.
Absolutely. They are immaculate, they run perfectly on time, and they provide a world-class scenic ride for absolute pocket change.
Okay, let's synthesize what we have built so far. We have mastered the foundation of movement.
We have our half-fare profile locked into the SBB app.
We are sniping dynamically priced Super Saver tickets 60 days out.
We are exploiting the Ticino guest card for free regional travel.
And we are riding bright yellow buses into the clouds for the cost of a coffee, which is amazing. Because we have solved the puzzle of moving cheaply and efficiently, it radically shifts our strategy for our next major category.
Right, which brings us to the second phase of our journey, lodging.
Because we are no longer afraid of transit costs, we don't need to pay a premium to sleep directly next to the main attractions.
Exactly. This is exactly how the gears interlock. Your transit strategy dictates your lodging strategy.
The most common mistake first-time travelers make is looking at a map of Switzerland and judging distances the way they would in, like, North America or the UK.
Yes. They think, well, if I stay 10 miles outside the city, I'm going to be stranded or I'll spend a fortune on taxis.
Right. The instinct is always to book the hotel right on the town square, right next to the lake, because you just fear being isolated.
But you have to understand the Swiss concept of the Taktvorplan.
The what?
Taktvorplan. It translates to the clock face schedule.
Hmm.
The entire national transit network is synchronized. Trains don't just run randomly. They pulse on exact intervals.
Like clockwork.
Literally.
Mm.
Every 15, 30, or 60 minutes at the exact same minute past the hour. Every single hour. Because this system is so flawless, distance in Switzerland is no longer measured in miles, it is measured in minutes.
And that completely changes how you should look at a map when you're booking a bed. Let's apply this to a real-world scenario from the research.
Sure, let's do it.
If I want to visit Montreux on the shores of Lake Geneva, famous for the jazz festival, it has this beautiful, wealthy French Riviera vibe. The hotels there are astronomically priced. Where should I be looking instead?
You look exactly 5 to 10 minutes down the train line. Instead of Montreux, you book an Airbnb or a small guest house in the neighboring towns of Vevey or Viennese.
Okay, and is it a hassle to get back and forth?
Not at all. The train ride between them is practically instantaneous. It runs constantly, and because you have your half-fare card, it costs almost nothing. But the drop in hotel prices is dramatic.
And it's not just rural areas, right?
Yeah.
The same logic applies to the major financial hubs.
Absolutely. If you are visiting Zurich, do not book a boutique hotel in the Altstadt, the medieval old town.
It's expensive.
The prices are scaled for corporate executives and luxury tourists. Instead, you look at the residential districts, the actual neighborhoods where the citizens of Zurich live.
I'll just commute in.
Exactly. You book a place in a local neighborhood, you hop on a spotless local tram, and within 10 minutes, you are standing in the center of the old town.
So you are paying residential rates instead of tourist premiums, and honestly, you probably get to experience the authentic rhythm of Swiss city life a bit more.
Without a doubt. It's a much better vibe.
I really appreciate that approach. It feels less like a compromise and more like just a smarter way to travel. But speaking of accommodations, we really need to address a topic that I think will challenge a lot of our listeners' preconceptions.
The hostels.
Yes. In the research, there is a massive emphasis placed on utilizing Swiss youth hostels. And I have to be honest, I hear the word hostel and my mind immediately conjures a very specific kind of grim image from when I was 20 years old.
Let me guess. Questionable stains and loud roommates.
Yeah. I picture a creaky, unstable metal bunk bed, a suspicious stain on the common room carpet, and someone inevitably playing acoustic guitar poorly at 2 in the morning.
We've all been there.
Right, and I'm a bit older now. I really value my sleep. Why are we talking about hostels?
Because you have to completely separate the global backpacker stereotype from the reality of Swiss civic engineering. The hostels in Switzerland are a completely different species.
Really? How so?
The Swiss Youth Hostel Association operates properties that routinely rival and sometimes even exceed the quality of boutique hotels elsewhere in Europe. They are heavily regulated, often structurally stunning, and immaculately clean.
The sources backed you up on this with some incredible specific examples. Tell me about Bergdorf.
Bergdorf is a perfect example of what we were talking about. The youth hostel in Bergdorf isn't some rundown building near a train station. It is built inside a renovated 800-year-old castle.
Wait, a literal castle?
A literal castle. You are sleeping in a historic fortress with massive stone walls and modern, architecturally brilliant interiors. And you are paying a fraction of what a standard hotel would cost.
That is absurd, a castle hostel. But what if I want the pure alpine experience? What if I want to wake up and see the mountains?
Then you look at the legendary spots like Balmer's Hostel in Interlaken. Now, they have standard rooms, but for the true budget traveler during the summer months, they open up an outdoor structure.
Outdoor structure?
It's an open-air barn where you can rent a hammock for roughly 15 francs a night.
15 francs? In Interlaken, that is arguably the most expensive adventure hub in the country.
It is unheard of. They provide you with heavy, authentic Swiss Army blankets, and you literally sleep out in the crisp alpine air.
That sounds incredible, actually.
But beyond the quirky accommodations, the real strategic value of these hostels lies in their amenities. Almost every Swiss youth hostel provides a high-quality, free breakfast buffet.
Free food is always good.
And critically, they provide fully equipped, immaculately clean guest kitchens. As we will discover when we get to our food strategy, having access to a stove and a refrigerator in Switzerland is the ultimate financial weapon.
Okay, so hostels are elite, and they give you kitchens. But let's say someone wants ultimate privacy. They want to rent their own chalet or an apartment through Airbnb.
Okay.
This brings us to a local mechanism that I found simultaneously fascinating and slightly terrifying in the sources. we really need to talk about the mechanics of Swiss waste management.
Oh, this is a big one. It catches everyone off guard.
I want to push back on this because reading the briefings, it sounds incredibly intense. It sounds like throwing away an apple core in Switzerland is as legally complicated as filing your taxes. What is actually going on here?
Well, what happens if you're in your rented Airbnb, you finish a carton of milk and you just toss it into a normal black plastic trash bag?
Right, that's what I'd normally do. What happens?
If you do that, you're going to trigger a very unpleasant chain of events. You will likely receive an angry message from your Airbnb host, followed by a hefty financial penalty deducted straight from your deposit.
Wait, really? Just for throwing it away?
Yes. You have to understand that Switzerland is a small, mountainous country with very little usable land. They do not have space for sprawling landfills. Therefore, their environmental regulations are incredibly strict.
Okay, that makes sense.
And they operate on a deep cultural belief in what's called the polluter pays principle.
The polluter pays principle. Explain how that manifests in a kitchen trash can.
It means that the cost of processing waste is directly funded by the people creating it at the point of disposal. Household garbage cannot just be thrown away in any random bag. It must be placed in special, officially regulated, heavily taxed municipal bags.
And these are bags that I, as the tourist renting the apartment, have to physically go out and buy.
Yes. If your host hasn't provided them for you, you must go to the local supermarket, like a Coop or Migros, and buy these specific bags at the register. They often cost around 2 francs per bag, depending on the exact municipality.
2 francs for a trash bag?
That 2 franc premium is the tax that pays for the incineration and processing, and the local authorities do not mess around with this.
How do they even police it?
If you leave untaxed, unregulated black bags on the curb, the municipal waste police, and yes, that is a real concept, will literally open the bags.
Are you serious?
I am serious. They search through your trash for a receipt or an envelope with a name on it, track down the owner of the property, and issue a massive fine. Your Airbnb host knows this, which is why they will pass that sign directly onto you.
That is intense civic order. Okay, so I buy the taxed bag for my apple core, but what about that milk carton? Or a wine bottle?
Oh, you definitely don't put those in the tax bag.
Why not?
Because that would be a huge waste of the expensive space in the bag and violates recycling laws. Glass, PE plastic bottles, aluminum, and cardboard must be meticulously separated.
Okay, separating is fine. We do that here.
But in many Swiss villages, there is no curbside pickup for recycling. You have to physically transport your separated recycling to a centralized village depot.
The sources mentioned Wengen specifically for this.
Yes. Wengen is a great example. It's a famous car-free village clinging to the side of a mountain. If you rent a chalet there, at the end of your stay, you must gather all your empty wine bottles, your plastic containers, and your bundled paper, haul it completely through the village on foot, and sort it into specific subterranean bins located underneath the train station.
I feel like taking out the trash just became an extreme sport.
It's just how it works. It is a highly ordered society, and ignorance of the rules is not an excuse. Participating in their acidic rituals, like hauling your recycling, is just part of the reality of staying in a residential property.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered castles, hammocks, and highly regulated apartments. But there is a whole subculture of travelers who just want to be out in nature. They want to camp.
Oh, okay.
My immediate instinct, if I wanted to save money in Switzerland, would be to just hike into a beautiful alpine meadow, pitch a tent, and sleep for free?
Which is the fastest possible way to ruin your vacation and completely enrage the local population.
Really?
You have to erase the concept of wild camping from your Swiss itinerary completely. Wild camping in nature reserves, national parks, or anywhere near popular tourist lakes like Lucerne or Interlaken is fiercely prohibited.
Well, why are they so strict about it? Like in Scandinavia, they have the right to roam where you can camp almost anywhere.
Right, but Scandinavia has vast, empty wilderness. Switzerland has an incredibly dense, highly utilized landscape that the citizens revere and protect meticulously.
I guess that makes sense. It's a much smaller space.
Exactly. Unregulated wild camping leads to litter, human waste, and damage to really delicate alpine ecosystems and agricultural land. If you are caught pitching a tent by a lake, the police or the local rangers will issue severe fines, and the locals have absolutely zero tolerance for it.
Okay, point taken. Message received. So, if I can't wild camp, but I still want to sleep under the stars on a budget, where can I go?
This is where we leverage a brilliant app called Stay Free.
Stay free? What does that do?
It is designed to facilitate what is called microcamping. The app connects you directly with private landowners, farmers, smallholders, or rural households.
Oh, that's smart.
It is. These individuals explicitly give you legal permission to park your camper van or pitch your tent on their private land for a very small nominal fee.
So it's safe and legal.
Entirely legal. It is safe, and the host often provides access to a freshwater tap and a bathroom. It discurses the tourism impact and supports locals directly.
That sounds like a wonderful compromise. And there was another agricultural option in the sources that sounded almost like a fairy tale. Sleep on straw.
Yes, Schlaf im Stroh. It is a phenomenal agritourism initiative across rural Switzerland.
What exactly is it?
For roughly 30 francs a night, a working farmer will allow you to literally sleep in their barn on a bed of fresh, clean straw.
Just right in the barn.
Right in the barn. They provide woolen blankets, and the price almost always includes a massive, hearty farm breakfast the next morning with their own milk, cheese, and bread.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It is an incredibly authentic, deeply Swiss experience. You are waking up to the sound of cowbells in a rural valley, and it costs a fraction of a basic hotel room.
Just you, the cows, and a pile of straw. I absolutely love that. All right, we have one final gear to turn in our lodging strategy, and it doesn't have to do with where you sleep, but when you sleep there. We need to talk about seasonality.
Crucial point.
Because if you want to crush the cost of a hotel room, the sources point to traveling in the shoulder season. But there is a massive caveat here, isn't there? The research was incredibly specific about which shoulder season you choose.
Timing is absolutely everything in the Alps, and a mistake here can literally blindfold your entire trip. If your only goal is to find the absolute bottom of the barrel, cheapest hotel rates of the entire year, the data shows you should book your trip for November.
Okay, so November is the ultimate budget hack.
Yes, but you have to deeply understand why it is cheap.
Why is it?
November in Switzerland is defined by a meteorological phenomenon that causes intense, persistent fog in the valleys.
Oh, really? Just thick fog.
Yes. Furthermore, November is the operational dead zone. The summer hiking season has ended, but there isn't enough snow yet for the winter ski season.
Oh, so things are closed.
Because of this lull, almost every major mountain cable car, funicular, and high-altitude hotel shuts down entirely for annual maintenance.
Oh, wow. So if I go in November to save 50% on my hotel, I might arrive and find that the mountain transport is totally closed.
Exactly.
And even if it wasn't, I couldn't see the mountains anyway because of the fog.
Exactly. If your itinerary is focused on indoor activities like touring museums in Zurich, eating in Geneva, looking at architecture in Bernapver is a fantastic financial arbitrage. But if you want the classic, sweeping Swiss alpine experience, November will just break your heart.
So what's the alternative?
You need to target the other shoulder season, early autumn.
September and October.
Precisely. In September and October, the massive summer crowds of July and August have completely dissipated. The hotel prices drop significantly from their summer peaks. The high-altitude cable cars and hiking trails are generally still fully operational.
And the weather.
Visually, the landscape transforms. It is harvest season. The forests turn golden, the air is crisp and clear. The sources highly recommend targeting regions like the Lavaux vineyards, terraced along Lake Geneva.
Oh, I've seen pictures of that.
In autumn, they're harvesting the grapes. The terraces are just ablaze with yellow and orange leaves.
Right.
It is spectacularly beautiful, much more affordable, and you still have full access to the high Alps.
Okay, let's just take a breath and look at where we are. We have hacked our movement with the SBB app and the Post Bus network. We have secured incredibly cheap strategic lodging, whether that is a castle hostel, an apartment where we are meticulously sorting our recycling, or a bed of straw in October.
Our basic survival needs are met, and we have kept hundreds of francs in our pockets.
But now we have a problem. We are hungry.
Very hungry.
And in Switzerland, walking into a standard sit-down restaurant for a basic meal with the drink can easily set you back 40 to 50 francs per person, per meal. If you do that 3 times a day, your budget just evaporates in 48 hours.
It goes so fast.
How do we eat? This brings us to section 3, eating well without going broke.
This is where we have to fundamentally shift our consumer behavior. We are going to bypass the entire ecosystem of tourist-facing restaurants, and we're going to adopt the exact dining habits of the local Swiss population.
I love this.
And the golden rule of this strategy, the absolute bedrock of eating affordably in Switzerland, is utilizing their grocery store networks, specifically Migros and Coop.
Okay, we need to pause and clarify this immediately because we have a global audience, right? In a lot of countries, the US, the UK, if I tell someone they have to eat their vacation meals from a supermarket, they're going to picture standing in a depressing parking lot, eating a sad, soggy, mass-produced sandwich out of a plastic triangle.
Oh, totally.
Feels like a massive compromise. That is not what we were talking about with Migros and Coop, is it?
Not even remotely. You have to understand the business model and the cultural integration of these two entities. Migros and Coop essentially operate as a duopoly in Switzerland, but they are not rapacious corporate conglomerates. They are cooperatives.
Cooperatives, meaning they're owned by the people.
Exactly. Migros, for example, was founded by a man named Gottlieb Duttweiler in the 1920s on a model of social capitalism. It is literally owned by over 2 million Swiss citizens.
Wow.
Because they are cooperatives, they are deeply ingrained in the fabric of daily life. Everyone in Switzerland, from university students to wealthy bankers, shops at Migros and Coop.
So the quality has to meet Swiss standards across the board.
Exactly. Their bakery sections are baking fresh, crusty artisan breads all day long that rival standalone bakeries in Paris. Their cheese counters are staggering displays of local cave-aged dairy.
Now I'm getting hungry.
And their prepared food sections offer high-quality salads, hot roasted chickens, and fresh regional specialties. You are not compromising on quality at all. You are just avoiding the restaurant service markup.
And the sources pointed out that even within these stores, there are specific budget lines you can target, right?
Yes. If you are cooking in your hostel kitchen or your Airbnb, look for the M-Budget branding inside Migros.
M-Budget, what does it look like?
It has a very distinct green and white packaging. You can't miss it. And inside Coop, look for the pre-guarantee line, which is pink and white.
And what are those lines?
These are staple goods, pasta, rice, butter, standard cheeses that are sold at significantly lower price points. But because of strict Swiss agricultural regulations, they still maintain a very high baseline of quality.
That's great to know. Now, beyond the food itself, there is a massive logistical hurdle regarding Swiss grocery stores that catches a lot of tourists totally off guard.
Ah, the operating hours.
Yes. Talk to me about that.
Swiss labor laws heavily protect workers' free time, which means standard supermarkets close much earlier than you might be used to, often by 7:20 p.m. on weekdays and perhaps 5:30 p.m. on Saturdays.
Okay, that's early, but you can plan around it.
But the biggest shock is Sunday. Due to strict national Sunday trading laws, almost every shop, supermarket, and pharmacy in the entire country is completely closed on Sunday.
Everything. So if you arrive in a new town at 6 p.m. on a Sunday and you haven't bought food, are you just doomed to pay 50 francs at a hotel restaurant?
You would be, except for one critical loophole you absolutely must memorize.
I'm listening.
The train stations. Federal law grants an exemption to businesses located inside major transit hubs.
Oh, that's huge.
Therefore, the Coop or Migros locations, located inside the train stations of cities like Zurich, Bern, Geneva, and Lucerne, are legally allowed to stay open late into the evening, 365 days a year, including Sundays.
So if you are ever hungry and everything is closed, go to the train station.
It is your ultimate logistical lifeline.
And here is a brilliant, immediate digital hack from the sources to make those station runs even cheaper. Both supermarkets have loyalty apps. Migros has the Cumulus app, and Coop has the Supercard app.
Oh yeah, these are great.
You don't have to be a resident to use them. The sources actually advise downloading these apps while you are still at the airport. You just sign up using a temporary email address, and you instantly gain access to a dashboard of digital coupons.
It really works.
We are talking immediate 20% to 30% discounts on fresh produce or bakery items. It takes 2 minutes to set up. You scan a barcode on your phone at the register, and the cash comes right off the total.
It is effortless, extreme couponing, which sets us up perfectly for the next gear in our food strategy. Because buying groceries is cheap, but eating them in a kitchen can feel a bit mundane on vacation. How do we elevate a budget grocery haul into a luxury alpine experience?
Oh, I love this part. Let's paint a vivid picture here.
Please do.
It's a Tuesday morning. You walk into a Coop, you head to the bakery and buy a fresh, still warm loaf of crusty bread for about 3 francs.
Amazing.
Then you walk over to the deli counter. You don't buy pre-packaged slices. You ask the butcher for a wedge of incredible cave-aged Gruyere cheese. And by the way, the research notes that premium cheese like Gruyere is incredibly cheap domestically, something like 2.50 to 4.50 francs per 100 grams.
It's a total steal compared to export price.
Right. Then you grab a 10-franc bottle of Swiss wine, maybe a Valet d'Ol, a lovely red blend. You load the bread, the cheese, and the wine into your backpack.
And then you utilize your transit passes. You take the train up to a staggering mountain peak, like the Jungfraujoch or Mount Pilatus.
And what happens when you get to the top?
When you reach the summit, the vast majority of tourists will immediately shuffle right into the panoramic glass restaurant. They will queue for 30 minutes just to sit at a crowded table and pay 40 francs for a very basic plate of schnitzel or pasta.
But not the learner?
No. You bypass the restaurant entirely. You walk 10 minutes down a marked hiking trail away from the crowds. You find a flat rock outcropping that overlooks a sprawling ancient glacier.
A perfect spot.
Sit down in the sun, you tear open that fresh bread, you cut into the Gruyere, and you drink your wine with $1 million unobstructed alpine view.
Your lunch cost you perhaps 15 francs total.
Exactly. And it is a profoundly superior, more memorable sensory experience than sitting in a noisy, overpriced tourist cafeteria.
That is the ultimate Swiss travel hack right there, the grocery hike. But I have to ask about the actual mechanics of being inside the store, because the sources noted that grocery shopping in some of these smaller mountain villages, like Wengen or Zermatt, has some really deep cultural quirks.
It really does. It's not like shopping at home.
What do I need to know before I walk in so I don't hold up the line and look like a totally confused tourist?
Well, it is a deeply self-service culture built entirely on efficiency. First, when you walk in, you cannot just pull a shopping cart apart. They are locked together.
Locked together. How do you get one?
You need to have a physical 1 or 2 franc coin to insert into the handle to unlock the cart. You get the coin back when you return it, but if you only have a credit card, you are basically carrying your groceries in your arms.
Okay, always carry a franc coin. Note taken. What happens in the produce aisle?
This is the biggest trap. In many countries, you put your apples in a bag, take it to the cashier, and they weigh them at the register.
Right, that's what I'm used to.
In Switzerland, you are expected to do the labor. You must place your fruits or vegetables on a digital scale located in the produce aisle yourself.
Oh, really?
You look at the digital sign above the apples to find their specific item number. You type that number into the scale, and it prints out a barcode sticker. You place that sticker on your bag.
And what if I forget and bring unstickered apples to the cashier?
If you arrive at the checkout line with unstickered produce, the cashier literally cannot weigh it for you. You will hold up the entire line of very punctual, impatient Swiss shoppers while you run all the way back to the produce aisle to weigh your apples.
Oh man, that sounds highly embarrassing.
It is.
Okay, weigh it, sticker it yourself, got
That's
it.
it.
And bagging.
Total self-service.
Mm-hmm.
The cashiers scan items at lightning speed and just push them down a ramp. You are expected to have your own reusable bags open and be packing them simultaneously.
Wait, there are no baggers.
There are no baggers. If you just stand there watching them scan, your groceries will pile up into a chaotic mountain, and again, you will face the stern glare of the locals waiting behind you.
Efficient, self-reliant, fast. I can respect that. Now let's move to a digital food hack that I found incredible. We mentioned the coupon apps, but there is a secondary app that seems to be a massive cultural phenomenon in Switzerland for saving money.
Yeah.
We need to talk about Too Good To Go. I have used this app occasionally in other cities, but the sources imply it is basically a way of life there.
The statistics are staggering. Since its launch there around 2018, over 14 million surprise bags have been saved from the trash in Switzerland alone.
14 million?
Yes. The premise of the app is food waste reduction. Bakeries, restaurants, and crucially, major supermarkets like Migros and Coop use the app to sell their daily surplus perishable food at the end of the day.
For a discount, right.
For a fraction of the retail price, usually about a third of what it originally cost.
So how does it actually work in practice?
You just open the app in the late afternoon. You might see that a local Migros is offering a Wundertüte, a surprise bag, for 5.90 francs. You reserve it and pay in the app. Then, right before the store closes, say it's 6:30 p.m., you walk in, show your digital receipt, and they hand you a bag containing roughly 18 to 20 francs worth of fresh, high-quality food that they legally cannot sell the next day.
But the expert advice here from the sources is crucial.
Yeah.
You have to be highly strategic. You shouldn't just buy any random bag on the app, right?
Exactly. You want to avoid what we can call the filler bags.
Because a filler bag.
If you buy a surprise bag from a random cafe or a coffee shop, you might just end up with 4 stale croissants and a leftover iced coffee. That is not a nutritious dinner. That is just a fast track to a sugar crash.
Right. So what's the better move?
Your strategy should be to aggressively target the supermarket bags from Migros or Coop. Because of their vast inventory, those bags will often contain a balanced haul. Fresh pre-made salads, artisan bread, yogurt, high-quality meats approaching their sell-by date, and sometimes even complete microwavable prepared meals.
And what if the app is sold out or you just don't have data on your phone?
You participate in the analog version, the yellow sticker hunt.
The yellow sticker hunt. I love that name.
In the last 2 hours before a Swiss supermarket closes, employees walk the aisles with a pricing gun, slapping brightly colored yellow stickers on perishable items, sandwiches, salads, meats, baked goods.
And how much is the discount usually?
These stickers mark the items down by 25% to 50% for immediate clearance. If you adapt your schedule to buy your dinner ingredients at 5:30 p.m. instead of noon, you could feast on premium food for half the price.
So we are strategically sweeping the aisles at twilight for discounted feasts. I love it. Now, moving on to hydration. This is a massive pet peeve of mine across Europe.
Let me guess, paying for water.
Yes, you go to a tourist center, you get thirsty, and you end up paying €3 or €4 for a small plastic bottle of water from a kiosk. It feels like a total trap.
In Switzerland, buying bottled water is not just a trap, it is completely illogical. The civic water infrastructure is a point of immense national pride.
Right, I've heard they have fountains everywhere.
Major cities like Zurich, Geneva, and Bern have hundreds upon hundreds of ornate, historic public fountains scattered throughout their streets and squares.
And you can just drink from them, like anyone.
You should drink from them. The water flowing out of those fountains isn't recycled city water. It is often pristine, ice-cold, alpine spring water piped directly from the mountains.
That's amazing.
It is chemically superior to almost anything you can buy in a plastic bottle. You simply bring a high-quality, reusable thermos in your backpack and fill it up for free all day long.
The only caveat the sources mentioned is a specific German phrase you need to look out for on the spout.
Yes, you must look for a small sign that says, Kein Trinkwasser.
Kein Trinkwasser, meaning no drinking water?
Correct. You will typically only see this sign on very remote agricultural troughs intended for livestock or fountains where the water source is a non-potable local stream.
So it's pretty rare in the cities.
Very rare. In the cities and the mountain villages, 99% of the fountains are perfectly safe, constantly flowing drinking water. It saves you hundreds of francs over a trip and dramatically cuts down on your plastic waste.
Okay, finishing up our food strategy, we really need to address the cultural elephant in the room.
Fondue.
Fondue. When people think of a hot, authentic Swiss dinner, they think of a massive cauldron of bubbling cheese. But you look at the menu outside a restaurant in Zermatt and your heart stops because a basic cheese fondue is priced at 25 to 35 francs per person.
Easily.
If you want a hot, culturally authentic meal without taking out a second mortgage, what is the alternative?
The alternative is arguably more authentic than sitting in a stuffy tourist restaurant. You bypass the fondue entirely and you embrace the servelat.
Servelat. Explain what that is.
The servelat is universally considered the national sausage of Switzerland. It is a slightly smoky, plump, inexpensive sausage that you can find by the dozens in any Migros or Coop. It is deeply ingrained in Swiss childhoods and family traditions. The true, authentic Swiss weekend ritual isn't paying 30 francs for fondue.
What is it?
It is taking your family on a hike into the countryside, finding one of the thousands of perfectly maintained, free public fire pits scattered across the forests and mountains, and roasting servelat on a stick over an open flame.
See, that is the exact kind of secret mechanism we were looking for. You go to the grocery store, you buy a pack of servelat for maybe 4 francs, you hike into a beautiful alpine forest, you build a fire, which is legally encouraged at these designated pits, and you cook your own hot dinner in nature.
Exactly. You are participating in a real, tactile cultural touchstone, and your hot dinner costs you basically nothing.
It is the perfect example of how budget travel, when done correctly, actually enhances your cultural connection to the country rather than diluting it. You're doing what the locals actually do.
I couldn't agree more.
Which is the absolute perfect transition into our fourth and final phase. We have optimized our transit, we are sleeping smartly, and we are eating deliciously for pennies. We have preserved a significant portion of our travel budget.
So now we get to the fun stuff.
Exactly. How do we spend our remaining time and our remaining francs on the culture and logistics, the unforgettable experiences that define the trip?
We start by stepping slightly off the heavily marketed tourist trail. When everyone else is queuing for the most famous, expensive cable cars, you can find incredible historical and cultural depth in the hidden gems.
Give me an example.
For instance, the sources highlight visiting regional watermills. In the village of Sigriswil, which is near the massive tourist hub Interlaken, there is the Grubenmühle.
The Grubenmühle, what makes it so special?
It is a 300-year-old watermill that has been meticulously, lovingly preserved. Instead of standing in a crowd of 500 people on a peak, you walk into this quiet, shaded valley. You actually hear the rush of the water turning the ancient wooden wheels.
That sounds incredibly peaceful.
It gives you a profound tactile connection to the agricultural and engineering history of the region. It is peaceful, it is incredibly cheap to enter, and it just feels like a private discovery.
And if we look south to the Italian-speaking Ticino Canton again, the sources highlighted a culinary and architectural experience that blew me away: the grottos.
Oh, the grottos of the Maggi Valley are phenomenal.
Tell us about them.
Historically, before modern refrigeration, locals would find natural caves or deep crevices in the rock faces where the air was naturally cool. They used these grottos to store wine, cheese, and cured meats.
Makes perfect sense.
Over generations, these storage caves evolved into rustic, deeply traditional eateries built directly into the granite.
The sources specifically mention Grotto Pozasque. Paint that picture for us.
Imagine driving deep into the lush green Maggi Valley. You arrive at a stone building situated right on the edge of a roaring emerald green mountain river.
Okay, I'm there.
You sit outside at heavy, ancient granite tables under the shade of massive chestnut trees. And instead of a laminated tourist menu, they serve you traditional, coarse polenta that has been slowly bubbling in a copper cauldron over an open wood fire all afternoon.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
You eat it with local braised meats and drink Merlot from a traditional ceramic cup. It is fiercely atmospheric, deeply rooted in the history of the canton, and it feels like a secret the locals are graciously letting you in on.
That sounds absolutely magical. That is exactly why you travel. But we have to be realistic. People travel to Switzerland to see the monumental hits too. You can't go to the Alps and not see the massive mountains.
Of course not.
Which brings us to a crucial logistical rule. Book popular mountain attractions in advance, but relentlessly hunt for the free, hidden gems.
It's a really delicate balancing act. If you are determined to visit the globally famous peaks like the Jungfraujoch, the Matterhorn Glacier Paradise, the Titlis Roter, you cannot treat them spontaneously in the high summer season.
Why not? Just too crowded.
The engineering capacity of those cable cars and trains is finite. If you walk up to the ticket booth at 10 a.m. on a sunny July morning, you will either find that it is completely sold out or you will stand in a queue for 3 hours. You must secure those specific expensive tickets in advance to lock in your ascent.
But the strategy is to balance those 1 or 2 expensive pre-booked days with days focused on dramatic, cheap alternatives, like the St. Vitus Caves.
Exactly. The St. Vitus Caves are perched right on the cliffs above Lake Thun. It is a massive, sprawling subterranean network of caverns, underground waterfalls, and stalactites.
And it comes with some crazy local mythology, right?
Yeah, legend dictates that an Irish monk named St. Vitus chased a fire-breathing dragon out of these very caves in the 1st century. It is a spectacular geological wonder, and entry is a fraction of the cost of a high-altitude cable car.
Or if you want pure, terrifying adrenaline without paying for a luxury gondola, the sources pointed to the Gelmerbahn. I had to look up a video of this when I read the research, and my palms started sweating immediately.
The Gelmerbahn is an absolute engineering marvel. It is an open-air funicular railway. It doesn't look like a train. It looks like a roller coaster car with no roof, just bolted to the side of a near-vertical cliff face.
That sounds terrifying.
It climbs at an agonizingly steep gradient, something like 106% at its maximum. You are sitting in the open air, slowly being winched up a sheer rock wall.
I don't know if I could do it.
It is thrilling, it is highly affordable, and at the top, it deposits you at the stunning turquoise Lake Gelmersee where you can hike around a pristine mountain reservoir.
It is absolute nightmare fuel for anyone afraid of heights, but an incredible budget thrill for everyone else.
Now, speaking of value, we need to return to the very first gear we turned today, the Transit Pass.
Ah, yes, full circle.
Because whether you bought the half-fare card or the Swiss Travel Pass, people often forget that these aren't just for trains. We need to maximize the freebies.
This is especially critical if you invested in the expensive Swiss Travel Pass. People think of it purely as a train ticket, but it is actually a comprehensive cultural key.
For instance, the Swiss Travel Pass includes completely free, unlimited access to the massive fleet of passenger ferries operating on the Great Alpine Lakes, like Lake Thun, Lake Brienz, and Lake Lucerne.
So you don't just take the train between towns. You can literally take a 3-hour scenic cruise.
Exactly. You can board a beautiful multi-deck ship, grab a coffee, and spend the afternoon gliding past medieval castles, terraced vineyards, and towering peaks, and it does not cost you a single extra franc. It transforms a travel day into a luxury excursion.
And the museum integration is staggering.
It really is. The Swiss Travel Pass acts as a museum pass for over 500 institutions nationwide.
500. That's insane.
And we aren't just talking about dusty, one-room local history exhibits. We are talking about major architectural and historical sites. For example, the Château de Tourbillon in the city of Sion.
Tell me about that.
It is a dramatic, ruined 13th century fortress situated on top of a towering rocky crag in the middle of the valley. Your transit pass grants you free entry. If you hit a rainy day where the mountains are clouded over, your pass instantly turns the entire country into a free, open-door cultural playground.
That really changes the mathematical calculation on whether that high upfront cost is worth it. All right, we are down to our final two gears in the Swiss puzzle, and these are pure, hard, defensive logistics to protect your wallet from systemic traps.
The boring but essential stuff.
Exactly. The first one is a banking mechanism. When you are paying with a credit card, you must always relentlessly pay in local currency, the Swiss franc, or CHF.
This is a sophisticated financial trap that catches tourists all over the globe, but because of the high prices in Switzerland, falling for it here hurt your budget significantly more. It is called dynamic currency conversion, or DCC.
Walk us through the exact scenario of how they spring the trap.
Okay, you are at a restaurant in Geneva. You have finished a lovely meal. The waiter brings over the digital wireless payment terminal. You tap your home country's credit card.
Okay, standard procedure.
Then the screen suddenly pauses and asks you a very helpful-sounding question. Would you like to pay this bill in Swiss francs, or would you like to pay in your home currency?
And human psychology dictates that your brain immediately thinks, well, my home currency. I understand what dollars or pounds are. I don't want to do the math. I'll just pick my home currency so I know exactly what I'm spending.
And the moment you press that button, you have lost money. You must never, ever select your home currency.
Why? What actually happens?
If you choose your home currency, you are agreeing to let the local Swiss merchant's bank perform the currency conversion right then and there, and they will apply a completely uncompetitive, aggressively padded exchange rate, pocketing the massive spread as pure profit.
So what happens if you decline and choose Swiss francs?
If you select Swiss francs, the transaction is routed back to your own home bank, which will process the conversion using the actual wholesale mid-market exchange rate.
So it's much better.
Way better. By simply pressing CHF instead of your home currency on that screen, you can instantly save 5% to 10% on every single purchase you make in the country.
Always choose the local currency. Do not let their terminal do the math. Got it. And finally, our last point. This is an incredibly specific logistical hurdle, but the tension surrounding it in the sources is palpable.
Let me guess. The border.
We need to talk about the Quixol app and the very real danger of trying to smuggle cheap groceries across the border. Here's the scenario. I'm a smart budget traveler, right?
Yeah.
I look at a map. I realize that cities like Basel or Geneva are practically touching the borders of Germany and France. I know that French and German supermarkets are vastly cheaper than Swiss ones. Why can't I just rent a car, drive 10 minutes into Germany, fill my trunk with cheap steaks and cheap wine, and drive back to my Swiss Airbnb?
Well, you can certainly attempt it, but you are playing a very high-stakes game of roulette with Swiss customs. You have to remember a fundamental geopolitical fact. Switzerland is entirely surrounded by the European Union, but it is not in the EU customs union.
Right, they maintain their own borders and their own economic rules.
And one of their primary economic directives is aggressively protecting their domestic agricultural sector. Swiss farmers cannot compete with the mass-produced, cheaper meats and dairies from Germany or France. Therefore, Swiss customs enforces draconian limits on what individuals can import.
How strict are we talking here?
Incredibly strict. For example, you are legally limited to importing a maximum of exactly 1 kilogram of meat or meat products per person per day.
1 kilo. That's really not that much.
Furthermore, the total combined value of all the duty-free goods you're bringing across the border cannot exceed 150 Swiss francs per person.
Okay, but it's an open border, right? You just drive through. What happens if I have, say, 3 kilos of cheap German steaks in a cooler in the trunk and I'm over the 150 franc limit?
If you just drive through, you are technically smuggling. And while the border posts might look unmanned, the Swiss border guards operate highly effective randomized mobile checkpoints.
Oh, they do?
Yes. If they pull your car over and they actively profile cars with rental plates or tourists, they will search your trunk. When they find the 3 kilos of meat, the penalties are swift and severe.
What happens?
You will be hit with massive, punitive customs duties on every gram of excess meat, which instantly obliterates any savings you thought you were getting. In flagrant cases, they can issue heavy fines or confiscate the goods entirely.
So trying to outsmart the system by smuggling sausages is just a terrible idea. But what if I genuinely want to buy some groceries in France legally, but I'm worried about the math?
See, that's where the app comes in.
Right, exactly. The Swiss government, being relentlessly efficient, created the QuickSol app. It is the official digital customs application.
How do you use it? If you go shopping in France, before you drive back to Switzerland, you sit in the parking lot and open the app. You digitally declare exactly what you bought. 2 bottles of wine, 800 grams of chicken, 200 francs worth of cheese. The algorithm instantly calculates if you are within your legal limits.
And if you are over?
If you are over the limit, the app calculates the exact customs duty you owe. You can pay that duty digitally, right there in the app, using your credit card before you even cross the border.
Oh, that's incredibly convenient.
It generates a digital receipt. If you get pulled over by a border guard 10 minutes later, you just show them the green screen on your phone. You have legally declared and paid for your goods. You're in total compliance, and you drive away without a fine, completely stress-free.
It is brilliant. There is literally an app for everything in Switzerland, up to and including declaring your discount German steaks. It all comes back to that mechanism we talked about at the very beginning. If you understand how the gears turn, if you follow the rules, the system actually works to protect you.
That is the essence of hacking Switzerland. The friction only exists when you try to fight the system or when you act out of ignorance.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. We have built a comprehensive 4-pillar playbook today. Pillar 1, we mastered movement. We ran the math on the 4-day rule to choose our transit pass. We successfully linked it as a travel card in the SBB app. We stacked our discounts with Super Saver tickets. And we swapped expensive tourist gondolas for subsidized yellow post buses.
Pillar 2, we slept smarter. We used the clock face schedule to stay 5 minutes outside the expensive hotspots. We embraced the elite infrastructure of Swiss hostels and castle dorms. We rigorously sorted our recycling to avoid Airbnb fines, and we found farmers to let us sleep on straw.
Pillar 3, we ate like locals. We treated the Migros and Coop cooperatives like high-end delis. We exploited the Sunday station exceptions. We hiked our cave-aged Gruyere up to glaciers for million-dollar picnic views. We hunted yellow stickers on the Too Good To Go app. We drank pristine fountain water, and we roasted serve-a-lot over open fires.
And Pillar 4, we locked down the logistics. We sought out 300-year-old water mills and rustic Medievalley grottos. We squeezed every free boat ride and museum out of our transit passes. We fiercely declined dynamic currency conversion at the credit card terminals. And we used QuickSol to keep our cross-border grocery runs perfectly legal.
If you follow those pillars, you entirely bypass the superficial ecosystem designed to separate uninformed tourists from their money. You step past the velvet rope and you get a much more tactile, authentic, and deeply rooted experience of how the country actually operates.
You really do.
Which brings me to a final thought for you, the learner, to mull over as you start packing your bags. We just spent an hour deep diving into budgets, digital apps, municipal waste rules, and customs limits. And it is very easy to look at a playbook this detailed and think, well, doesn't all this rigorous planning restrict the freedom of travel? Doesn't constantly monitoring train schedules and grocery apps kill the spontaneity and the romance of a vacation?
It's a fair question.
But I would argue the exact opposite. I want you to consider this. Does rigorously planning every mechanical detail of a budget actually restrict the freedom of your travels? Or does having this intricate master financial playbook completely liberate you from the grinding, pervasive anxiety of spending?
That's a great point.
Does knowing exactly how the gears turn, knowing that your transit is covered, your bed is cheap, and your dinner is sorted, finally allow your mind to be truly present? When you are standing on a windswept mountain peak looking out over a glittering glacier, does this playbook allow you to just take in the sheer staggering beauty of the Alps without that quiet voice in the back of your head worrying about how much it costs to get there?
Because when you aren't stressing about the price tag, you can actually see the view. You can actually feel the altitude.
Exactly. Because you finally own the watch instead of the watch owning you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Pack your reusable grocery bags, download those apps, lace up your hiking boots, and go turn the gears. Have an incredible time in Switzerland. We will see you next time.